Urban Explorer of Reddit, what was your I Bet a gtfo story? Was exploring an abandoned TB hospital. Heard a sound that sounded a lot like a homeless person snoring. It took a while for my friends and I to work up the courage to go in the room where we heard it, but we were rewarded with the sight of a vulture's nest. In Oklahoma I was looking around some land that my mother and aunt inherited. I found a foundation and basement for a homestead that had been destroyed. As I got closer to it I started to hear this hissing sound and I freaked out a little because there are like 4 different species of rattlesnake here and the closest hospital is half an hour away. I kept going and look into the basement/cellar thing and there are 2 baby buzzards. Turns out they hiss when they get scared. I was taking a look at some of those massive smokestacks in an abandoned factory and I heard a radio squelch. That's time to go, right there. Used to do security at a racetrack at night and I'd usually hit the monitor button on my radio, which turns off the squelch so you can listen to the channel unfiltered or pretty much pure static, every so often so people would know I was nearby and I wouldn't have to deal with them, unless they were supposed to be there. What is a radio squelch? Does that mean you overheard radio go off nearby? No really scary ones other than random bums yelling and stuff. But there were a couple of good encounters, messing around in the outskirts of a train yard taking pics of old train cars and stuff. Ran into I guess a mechanic or maintenance worker or something who ended up being super cool and started up and pulled a locomotive out of the shed for us. In an old abandoned mining site somewhere I came around the side of a big machine thing and ran into a homeless dude living in a tent. He also turned out to be cool. We gave him some of our food and sat around for a while talking. Yeah, I wish my run-ins were like this Lamal. I was inside an abandoned brewery, looking at the old equipment. I climbed a lot of stairs and found a door with scribbles of graffiti on it, among them the sentences "Don't look down and commit suicide here." We were about 4 stories off the ground at this point but my curiosity was killing me. I opened the door, nothing. No stairs or balcony or fence. The door was on the wall of the building and opened into thin air, and you absolutely would have been killed, painfully, had you fallen out. Edit, I posted photos of the graffiti/view down. It was lower to the ground than I remember but it was still terrifying. Reminds me of an abandoned brewery up in Melbourne, Australia. Had a door right up to the top that was similar to what you described. I used to drive past a factory that had a door at least 3 stories up on the outside of the building, so strange. And another animal feed plant that had what looked like a delivery area, metal shutter for a truck to back into, also 3 to 4 stores up. What is this? I convinced a group of about 5 or so of my friends to go with me into this old house that was in an odd sort of industrial area, like on one of those service roads next to a highway. The only way in was to go through the basement and through a hole in the wall at the top of the stairs. After exploring for a while I thought I'd do a scout mission for fun that involved me just walking around the house to check for cops. Well, what do you know, there were cop cars just pulling into the street with sirens on that were pulling into the restaurant next door. Someone probably reported us. The exit was on the other side of the house from the cops. I quickly called up to the others to climb back out and we somehow managed. I don't generally believe in intuition but I do find it odd that I had the urge to do a sweep right when the cops showed up. I don't know if there's any truth to this but my dad has always claimed intuition is triggered when you start hearing a disturbance, even if it's really quiet. As in it's not loud enough for you to really hear it but enough that your body is aware something has changed. He grew up in Belfast during the Troubles and always claimed he was saved by his body noticing changes in the environment he was in that triggered his intuition. Could very well be bullshit though. In a building I found the basement. Then the sub-basement. It was dark. Heard a sound. Then an animal running sound. And dogs barking. I fucking booked it back up the stairs and closed the fire door and gtfo. Speaking to some urbex mentors they explained if you hear dogs or see them, to not go in the area as it's probably used for a drug lab. I've had a similar thing happen as it was getting dark in the woods. Definitely freaky. Any building that has a sub-basement freaks me out. Anything. Even if it's legit. When I get on an elevator for a hospital or something and I see B1, B2, B3, it just gives me the willies. Just going deep, deep underground. Maybe I played too much Resident Evil as a kid. Came upon an active shooting gallery in a tunnel one time. I noped TF out of there in a hurry. One time I was hiking in the woods behind my house and I found a mattress surrounded by heroin needles and used condoms. I mentioned it to one of my friends who went to school in the town and he, very nonchalantly, says, "Oh yeah, that's fuck mattress." Fast forward a few years and one of the dishwashers at the restaurant I was cooking at lets it slip that his first time was on fuck mattress. Now this dude weighed about 350 and was maybe 5 feet 10 inches, so the visual of that was just terrible, and unsurprisingly he never lived it down. Kitchen staff are fucking brutal, so giving them that kind of ammo is not the best idea. I checked on it last year when I was hiking and sadly it's all but disintegrated into the forest floor. Just a few scraps of fabric, some rusted out coil springs, a smattering of old condoms and some old empty Doritos bags. I like to think those were left over from that magical night that fat dude had his cherry busted. Fuck mattress, you will be missed. You weren't just for heroin-fueled hobo sex, you also provided a sketchy spot for high school kids to sneak off and fuck. Shooting gallery? Like people were being shot, or do you mean like a gallery of photos from active shooter situations? Or am I dumb and you mean a photo shoot? Spooky cement tunnel that seems to lead underground. Very dark and echoes go on for ages. We had no clue what it was, didn't seem to be any kind of drainage tunnel because it was square/bone dry and out in an open field. There are definitely some old bomb shelters and missile silos on our area that are out of commission, so we decided to take a look. Only about 20 yards in and the light from outside starts really fading behind us. Someone takes out a flashlight and we start seeing bare human footprints on the ground leading deeper into the dark. None leaving. We skedaddled. I encountered something similar, but very different. Lol. Me and my family were driving down a road by the border of Wyoming and Colorado, in Wyoming, and there was snow all around us. We decided to stop, in the middle of the night, at the side of the road to feel the fluffy snow. We're from California, and I see one single bare human footprint on the snow. And it's not like someone took their boot off and stepped in, no. Cause it was in the middle of the snow. Like a good 5 feet into the snow. And it looked fresh. We all ran to the car and drove away, but it was the weirdest thing I've ever seen. Why did I come to this thread at 1 AM when I can't sleep? Decided to solo mission an abandoned church. Dropped down through a window into the basement. After wandering through some hallways I found a large room with the stairs to the main level at the other end. Started crossing the room when I heard footsteps above me. It sounded like somebody walking with crutches or a peg leg making a weird thunk thunk, thunk thunk. The steps seemed to be going in a circle. I paused for a minute. I'd had run-ins with homeless people before that were generally amiable. I'd make small talk for a minute, give them a smoke and some change, and everything would be copacetic. I wasn't normally scared to run into them. This time I had a weird bad feeling. After hesitating, I took a couple more steps toward the stairs. I was so focused on the noise above me that I accidentally kicked an empty spray paint can which clattered away along the floor. The footsteps above me stopped for a moment. Then whatever it was began running, still making that thunk thunk, towards the stairs I was about to start climbing. I was suddenly more terrified than I have ever been in my life. I sprinted full tilt back toward the window I'd come through as whatever it was began running down the stairs and somehow managed to quickly claw my way up and out. I didn't look back until I was safely out of the building, at which point I could neither hear nor see anything. I waited outside for a few minutes, but apparently whoever it was had decided scaring me off was good enough and had retreated back into the building. Slightly spooky epilogue. About 3 weeks later I went back with a couple friends. We made our way into the building and up the stairs without incident. Inside the church we found obvious evidence of multiple homeless persons living there. There were mattresses set up in corners, some small fires had been lit, etc. Most of it was fairly normal. However, on the windowsills we found multiple birds and small mammals, all of which had been beheaded and their bodies carefully lined up. After perusing and photographing the main sanctuary, I and one friend made our way up to the 3rd floor, which had classrooms and offices. Coming up the stairs I could see the door to a room off the landing at the very top. As I got to the last few stairs the door abruptly slammed shut. The room had been dark and didn't appear to have any windows, and I couldn't feel a breeze or see any open windows looking down the hallway from the top of the stairs that could have pulled the door shut. My friend tried to open the door and said that it felt like there was something on the other side pushing it shut. We elected not to explore the 3rd floor, and after going downstairs and consulting with our other friend it was decided we should leave. About 3 years later I revisited that church, and when I came to the top of the stairs I found the door to that room wide open. Shining my flashlight in I confirmed that the room had no windows. That church is fairly well known in the local exploring community, and while several people have said they got a bad feeling or felt creeped out there, nobody else has had any kinds of encounters. I assume the first incident was a homeless resident trying to scare me off, the dead animals were the work of an unmedicated schizophrenic, and the slamming door was a homeless person not wanting his nap/high disturbed by some dumb kids. That said, the whole experience was hair-raising, and I still bring it up as an anecdote for new explorers on why you should never explore alone. One of my cats growing up would behead small birds and mammals and bring them home as gifts and line them up. My cats now are indoor cats. Subscribe for more hot Reddit takes in your inbox, guaranteed.